Okay, let's go with the 4-2-2. I've already made the 4-2-3-1 video, and I already explained in Friday's video how we're progressing from this. Now we'll come back to the 4-2-3-1 wide, but the narrow and the 4-2-2 they share basically the exact same structure. The only thing that's differing between these two, I would say, is you need a cam that can play striker. So you can see my central cam also plays that strike, and I have Sun there just temporarily there. Don't, of course, you got to put a player in the right position. Just ignore Sun. I actually sub him off. He's just there for chemistry purposes, but I end up subbing him off after. So the difference between this formation and this formation is actually not that much different. I think a lot of people, when they see this formation, they see central cams. Same with this formation, is they automatically think that these cams are narrow players, when in fact they're wide players. I'll always say to you, they're like wide midfielders. That's probably the best way of describing them. They're wide midfielders. So we're not going to go over what we did already on Friday's video, but I just wanted to say the player choice that you make in that cam role is going to be very important, because A, they have to play a strike force role, and B, out of possession. Let's say, for example, you end up going to a 4-2-3-1. You need to play that cam role. So someone that can pass. I think with team of the season now, it's not much of a worry as it was maybe early on in the year. Most people, as we probably know now, they can shoot and they can pass, but I would say high sprint speed. So again, this player here, high sprint speed, good agility and balance, ideally good long shots and good passing. Do you want to increase your win rate just before team of the season? We got the Division 10 to Elite Division series. All the videos are finally uploaded. We show you how to get from Division 10 to the Elite Division, basic gameplay. No speed boosting, no mechanic abusing, no Trivella at all, because we want you to get there just with basic gameplay to show you don't need to mechanic abuse. If you want a mechanic abuse, that's fine. We want to show you how to play properly first and then show you what the pros do. What pros do is they use basic gameplay and then they mechanic abuse to get the top 10%. Not the other way around. They don't mechanic abuse first and then learn the basics. We go over complete in-depth tutorials. And don't forget, with my entire series, if you join now during Team of the Season, remember, if you don't get better after 1 month, we will refund your money. That is the nil guys guarantee. That is how sure we are. We've been running this for 4 or 5 years. We go over in-depth tutorials. We also go over pro gameplay analysis where we analyze the full professional player's game. We got tutorials for everything: undefendable through balls, player locks, precision passing, precision shooting, everything that you could think of that goes beyond my YouTube channel. We've got the full defensive series, which defending series alone, just by watching that, I can guarantee you will improve. Patreon.com/NilGuys. Links down below in the description. If you don't get better after 1 month, just send a message on Discord or send a message through Patreon and I'll refund your money. That's a Nil Guys guarantee. Don't believe me? Try it out. What have we got to lose? Less than the price of a KFC meal nowadays. Links down below in the description. Same with the left mid and right mid. The left ram and right ram. See, I'm referring to left mids and right mids. They got to be quick. They can't be central cams at 85 sprint speed. They got to be like 95, 96 sprint speed with a chemistry style. I'll be honest, ideally without chemistry style, I'm talking about minimum 91. 90, 91. You want them to beat fullbacks. Now, the only downside with this formation is this one, you have that camp player. I like to think of it as like a piece of glue. This is the kind of player where the ball will go through. So, you got to do a 1-2. I think a lot of people in the lower divisions, when they go into foot champions, this is why they struggle, because when they verse weaker opponents, it's fine. But once you're up against a good player and you're getting pressed, especially your opponent's got 2 center mids, sometimes you could find that you're getting pressed completely and you got no exit strategy. So that cam is going to be a very, very important player. Remember that. Now, for the CDMs, this is personally, that's the wrong one. That's the special 4-2-2. We've already made a video on that. We're not going to go over that one on today's video. Both of them on holding defend. I think this is the best way to go about it. Look, you can use even deep line, playmaker, build up. I suggested the build up. To be honest, I was a bit, when the build up came out, I'll be honest, I looked at it a little bit. I didn't really use it as much. Admittedly, I didn't really like it. But now with the quicker players and the better passes and the better distribution, I'm actually liking it more and more. I didn't like it initially just because of the way they were positioned. For me, they were a bit on the reserve side. I didn't like them as a holding. They were in the right place at the right time. Whereas the build-up, they kind of weren't in the right place. And I had to use L1 to supplement that player. But that's why I wasn't really the biggest of fans. But otherwise, you can literally go with a holding, or you could even go with deep line playmaker defend. It's completely up to you. I think that they sit a bit too deep. And I think the disconnect between your cams and your CDM is probably a bit too far. So I'd probably say You can leave one on deep line playmaker defend if you want to, and I would say maybe put one of them on holding. That way you kind of got like a look kind of like an angle system. So you got one player's a bit more reserved. Maybe on the side that you're a bit more attacking, because if you're attacking on the left hand side, you can put that player on a holding CDM. I actually think for defending, not being too defensive, being at the right place in the right time, I think holding defends, they push themselves a bit better, especially against the press. Now, the fullbacks can be on balance. Now, you can actually put it on wingback. If you remember my old formation from very early on that I kind of took influence from, what's the gentleman's name? I forgot his name. The Portuguese gentleman, I forgot his name. The pro player, Diego, I forgot his surname. But anyway, you probably know he plays for Sporting. He used wingbacks on his formation, and I thought, you know what, let me give it a go. And I actually really like wingbacks. The key thing here is you need a plus plus. So if you are going to use wingbacks, you need plus plus. Then I would say you can go towards 2 deep line playmakers defend if you got the wingbacks. The only thing with wingbacks is, of course, if you lose the ball, it's going to be extremely costly. I think wingbacks will only scale with the top tier players here, like anyone that's like Division 2, Division 1 and above, anyone that's like rank 3 and above, that's where it will scale the most. Or I would say you can go on a bit on the defensive side, and you can put, for example, one fullback on fullback balance to fullback defend, and you can leave the other wingback on wingback. I'm just watching now. Rafinha just scored a goal, but it was offside. Extra time. Anyway, I have to watch the game, make the video. That's what you gotta do. Business, eh? But yeah, the wingback on one side can suffice if you're going to attack down one side, and you don't want to be too risky by having too many players out of position. But otherwise, I would say for both the wing backs, put them on defend. Remember, when you're attacking, it's more like you have your 2 strikers. You have your left mid and right mid. Or in this case, your lamb and your ram. They're not as wide. They're just, let's say, a bit more centrist for depiction. But like then you have your CDMs that sit a bit deeper. And that's the only downside, is that you don't have those center mids. And that is where the formation can sometimes feel a bit of a struggle. You can do something that I did in my 3-5-2. So we're kind of going a bit off pattern now. But let's say, for example, in my 3-5-2, if you put, let's say, for example, you were to attack down the right-hand side, right? If you were to put the right attacking cam as a half winger, you could kind of create that 3-5-2 system without pushing your left back going forward. So you could make this into a 3-5-2 if you want to. You don't have to if you want to. But what you could do is, because I know a lot of people don't like that because defensively is a bit costly. But what you could do actually is you could do a system like this. I would recommend maybe fullback balance there, just because I think you at least have the outlet going wider. But then what you could do is you see how your left attacking cam, you see how he kind of moves into the central place in position. So if you want to have a 4-2-2, but you want that central cam and you want it to be like a 4-2-3-1, but maybe instead of having a left attacking cam, you have an extra striker. You can say something like this, and I think you would very much actually like this. I wouldn't. Like, I know you can technically experiment with a complete player that goes on a wider players, and have granted, I think there's a very good reasoning for that. But I think for anyone here, let's say if you're watching this and you really like to attack down one side, I think this would be the best solution. So think of this like a half 4-2-3-1. It's kind of like the halfway point, because you have the, don't forget the systems are exactly the same. The only difference between this is you have an extra striker instead of a lamb. So I think a lot of you guys will actually very much like this formation. Well, so let me write some chat. So my notes also, yes, so the most important thing is for this half winger is the pace. Ideally, you want someone with quick step here. Ideally, someone that's quick on the ball. Even if you're going for a traditional playmakers on both sides, same as before, quick step playstyle pluses, maybe even incisive passes, I would say here. Ping passes can work very well. Your 2 strikers, I think the usual quick step, the rapid, if you like to use those, even for the wingers, you can use rapid, and the low drivens, and if you like to score finesses and travellas, the lamb and rams can have those as well. One thing to mention for the CDMs, I think pinged pass, at least the silver playstyle here. As I said, the biggest factor is when you're attacking, although it's not depicted here clearly, you actually have 4 attackers in a row as opposed to the cams slightly behind, which a lot of people think. When you go into the game, look at your players, look at the radar position. So I would say the pinged passing from your CDMs to distribute the balls going forward, or even tiki-taka, but ping pass. At least I would say at least have one player here who's got the ping pass playstyle plus. That would be my recommendation, especially down the side that you want to attack. That's the side. So I use Militao. He has the ping pass playstyle. He is very, very good. But I would say at least one player. Otherwise, worst case scenario, you can go with a silver playstyle plus. And then, of course, for defenders, usual thing, high pace, same as the 4-2-3-1. And left back and right backs, unless they are wing backs, you don't need to worry about them as long as they can pass the ball. You know, for a traditional left back and right back at this stage of the game, they should have about at least 85 short passing. Long passing can veer towards 80 depending on the player. But if you're smart in your choices and you chose some right players, you can get some really good fullback options. The most important thing is if they are going forward, make sure they're on wingback plus plus. That way, when they go forward and they come back, that plus plus makes them come back in time. So A, you don't get countered, and B, helps you with a build-up play. Remember, positioning is the most important thing. So I would use this alongside the 4-2-3-1. You can add this one, and let's say, for example, if this formation was too much for you, this was my my special formation. But let's say you just want, what you could also do instead is, and we're just going to put both of these on holding defend, and we're going to put this player on a wing back. You can even do something like this if you want to attack down one side. That is if you want to do that. But that's just, again, look, you have a bit of freedom with that. And that's really the benefit of the 4-2-2 is there's a lot of variations that you can create that you probably didn't think of. Otherwise, you know, again, you can swap on either side. Otherwise, you can go with a playmaker. You can go with the two playmakers like that. And then maybe you can consider, okay, one them on like a wide wing. And that way you have that cam system with the two strikers as well. So something just to bear in mind. So you can do that. You don't have to use my one. You can do that. Or you can put this one over here. So this would be kind of like the all-around 4-2-2. And then for the attacking slot, so let's say the alternative slot, all you can do basically here is put wing back plus plus. Like so. And that way you can just make it more attacking on the fly. Now, when we come over to the tactics, now for me, I think counter attack is a must. Unless you're playing a bit of a slow progressive system, then I completely understand. And depth. Unless you're trying to close out the game and be in a more of a defensive stance, I would say you could use something like 50, 45 is kind of where I go to. And I would say 70 is what I would probably start the formation with. Now, one thing I would say is this is not a pressing tactic. You cannot press with a 4-2-2, or where you can, but it'll be very, very difficult. You need center mids to sit higher. That is why, look, if you're new to the game, and let's say you had 4 formations and they were all 4-2-2, one was a defensive 4-2-2, one was a balanced, one was attacking, and one was a pressing one, I understand. But at this stage of the game, you should have at least a knowledge of, okay, integrating different systems. And of course, now with the different roles, different positions available, you could easily find players that can play on the wing and that can play like in a 4-4-2. So whatever you choose, remember this formation, it's more of an attacking balance formation, especially up against where this formation I think really prospers is, think about how many times you go into a game with a 4-2-3-1. And you know, when you have one striker, you know this more than anyone. Think about this when you have one striker up front and you have no one to pass the ball to. How does it feel? A lot of the time you struggle to maneuver the ball and get the ball going forward to the striker because your opponent, they might have a back four, so automatically already outnumbered. Then you have that your one striker there. Then your opponent's got 2 CDMs. So your cam has to get the ball and distribute the ball to that singular striker that's almost marked by 4 players. There's a box around that one player in the middle. And that is where the 4-2-2 comes in and ships. So if you ask me what the grand difference between those two are, it's the cam position, helps a link-up play. But if you could be more aggressive and more attacking, and that is why I have one player a bit higher, you could basically make that virtual center mid. Now, what I'd would probably suggest, we'll go into this next week, but using something like a 4-4-1-1 would be a better example, because what you could do is have the exact, you can basically copy the exact same things in terms of the roles. And then what you could do here is you can make one of these players like a playmaker, or even put both of them box to box if you're feeling a bit spicy enough. But this way you have one more player helping in the attack. And that is why a lot of pro players prefer the 4-4-1-1. It's not only because the center mids their centre mids that people think, oh, CDMs are better. Yes, for the average casual player who doesn't know how to defend, CDMs are much better. That's completely true. But for pros and top tier players that want to sit higher up the pitch, it's better to press and be aggressive with centre mids being higher up the pitch. And that way, attack is the best form of defense. But that is why it's very hard to realistically recommend this to every single person. Like someone who's in Division 7 watching this, and someone in Division even 3, even 2, even 1, Division 1 players struggle with centre mids. So it's very, very hard to just recommend this for anyone. That's something just to bear in mind. But that is something that you could do if you want to make it more attacking. And it appears Kunde, my favorite card inside the game, has just scored as well in El Clasico. But I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. If you want to get better FC, come to my Patreon series. Stay tuned for tomorrow. We'll go with the 4-2-3-1 second variation. Congrats to Barcelona and Les Roma should come back. Thanks for watching. Take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.